And at least 4 people are dead and a multitude of others wounded after gunfire at a teen's birthday party in Alabama. The investigation going on in Dadeville, which is about an hour northeast of Montgomery, Alabama. Dadeville police providing very limited information during a brief news conference earlier today, with another one expected later. Now, it's not clear if a suspect has been identified or arrested at this point. Lizi Gwin is the managing editor of the Dadeville Record. She's been following this story there on the ground and joins us live to talk more about it. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Yes, thank you for having me. I wish I had more of an update for you, but I'll do my best to answer your questions.
Of course. So first off here, what is the latest information? I mean, we know that at least 4 people are dead. We've heard a multitude from police of other people were injured there. Some estimates saying 20, could be 25. What have you heard and what do we know?
So we don't know much more than that. Again, the 4 confirmed dead, we do know, and the outlook in the record through some of our personal sources and things like that have been able to chat with coaches and teachers and family members and things, and have confirmed the identity of 2 of the dead, both of whom were Dadeville High School seniors getting ready to graduate, both athletes as well. And we are working to identify the other 2 fatally wounded victims, and we just don't want to say anything until we know for sure from a trusted source.
Oh, of course, for sure. We want to make sure that we're putting out factual information there. Now, do we know at this point if a shooter or shooters are in custody? Because that was a big question, especially over the last few hours. You even asked it at the news conference, and it seems like we didn't quite get a clear answer.
No, and that's actually the same answer that they've stuck with up until this point, is that it is not an active shooter situation. There's no public safety concern, and the area is secure. However, with them not giving us information about what exactly that means in terms of public safety, that continues to be a #1 priority for us to find out, for our community here locally, just to ensure that the danger has subsided, at least for the foreseeable future.
And there are several videos, many of them, that are posted all over social media. It sounds like it was a very chaotic scene there.
Yeah, it sounds like that to me. I've heard estimates of 30 to 50 people in that building, and it's not a very big building. It's a dance, recently converted library actually into a dance studio. It was upgraded, and so it's only it's one room essentially, and there's not a lot of space to go anywhere in terms of escaping or anything like that. One thing I did see outside of Mahogany's masterpiece, was a bunch of tennis shoes, lots and lots of tennis shoes that were taken up as evidence. So it did seem like there was a lot of running around, a lot of things going on right at the front door at the time of the incident, although we were not on scene until about 45 minutes after.
And at this point, any word on a possible motive? I mean, at this point, we don't know if the shooter or shooters are in custody, so there are so many questions, but do we happen to know a possible motive for this situation here?
No, not at all. And I hate to speculate even a little bit on that one, just because that can get dangerous. There's been some rumors about possibly, we do know that ATF was on the scene, so something potentially to do with alcohol, drugs, firearms, those kinds of things. But no, we don't know at all. I mean, they're not telling us very much at all.
So we know that police have now postponed a few press conferences. I believe initially there was going to be one very early this morning. Then it was kind of postponed to around 8, 9 o'clock. That was postponed. And then they did hold a news conference, fairly brief. They weren't really taking questions. There was another one scheduled for this afternoon, and that was postponed. Any indication as to why that keeps happening?
I don't know why, and unfortunately, I just had my reporter was actually on the scene. I had left the scene by the time the 12 o'clock press conference was supposed to happen, and he said they just They just postponed it to 5. I hope it's that they're trying to be very sensitive, give us all very factual information, ensure that family members know where their children are. In addition to the 4 that are dead, I think obviously someone knows their identity at this point. But I do know that at least victims, wounded victims, were taken to at least 3 different hospitals. And in Alabama, in rural Alabama, that means they were taken up to 45 minutes away, and some even further than that into the Birmingham area, which is an hour and a half, almost 2 hours from Dadeville. And so I hope that they're trying to make sure every family member knows where their child is, what condition their child is, and gets it all straight before they release anything to us. I did want to mention, you had mentioned the Dadeville police weren't giving us much, and actually the investigation has been taken over by the State Bureau of Investigation. So I think Dadeville is simply following their lead on what to release at this point. And I do know they're trying to get all their ducks in a row, meaning Dadeville knows what Tallapoosa County knows, what SBI knows, what ALEA knows, and all those things.
And I imagine that's going to play a role in how long it takes to hold a press conference, because obviously you want to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page, especially if you are switching between different law enforcement agencies. And at this point, this has reached over to the state level. Tell me a little bit about Dadeville and what kind of community it is, who lives there. I know it's fairly small.
Yeah, Dadeville's about 3,000 people. It's a tiny little hamlet of a town. Our claim to fame is Lake Martin, Alabama, although much of Dadeville is not actually situated on the lake. Where this took place was right in the heart of a historic downtown district, right beyond the buildings, where you see the crime scene is right in a historic square. The downtown feel, live music every Thursday night kind of thing. It's a very, very safe place, especially right in that area. Nothing that you would ever expect to happen in a town like this. It's just good people, in this town, and it's jarring, to say the least.
I mean, I can only imagine. So you obviously cover that area extensively. You cover the area nearby as well. Crime isn't something that you're covering very often, I imagine.
Certainly not to this level. I mean, obviously, we do have cases here and there. We actually recently, unfortunately, had a missing girl who was found dead after a month-long search. So it does happen. It's just very rare, and something to this extreme, and also something to kids. Is just not something that we see often. Our community is all about our kids, our high schoolers, our elementary schoolers, our middle schoolers. We're getting ready for graduation, prom last weekend. Like, these are all big things in our town, which to most people it might not be. But for little old Dadeville, we don't see things like this very often, if at all.
Right. And do we know anything specifically about the birthday party? Because we keep saying birthday party. He said during the news conference, I believe it was the police chief who may have said it, that it was a 16-year-old's birthday party. We've heard other people refer to it as a Sweet 16. Do we have any sort of clarification on that?
Yeah, so from what, again, not from official law enforcement sources, but from what I'm gathering from my sources on the ground and people that know the victims, it was actually a 16-year-old birthday party. It was actually the sister of one of the young men that we've identified as one of the deceased.
All right, so this investigation probably going to take a little while. Now, the next news conference, I believe, is coming up here in just a couple hours. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I just want everybody to be on alert that there's a possibility that one might get postponed. One, because that's how it's been going. But also, two, I wondered why they scheduled it at 5, simply because there is a prayer vigil scheduled right in the large First Baptist Church in downtown Dadeville at 5 p.m., exactly the same time, right across the street from where the press conference would be held. So if that gets moved to accommodate that, it wouldn't surprise me either way, but we'll keep you posted.
And what does it mean to you to see, for instance, the community coming together? Because in this case, as you mentioned, we're talking about less than 24 hours after the incident happened, and you already have folks that are planning a vigil to honor those who lost their lives, who were essentially murdered there. at a birthday party.
Yeah, and it's not surprising of our town, to be honest. I saw as early as about 5 a.m. volunteers came out from the restaurant up the street and brought coffee and brought some donuts and things like that to the first responders and to the people that had been on scene for hours. And it's not surprising. They've already hosted a community prayer at 1:30 Central Time. And so this is what we do. We rally around our troops and we rally around our family. And I think I said to you before, it's a very, very small town. We all know each other. So in a room full of 30 to 50 kids, you know somebody that was in that room, and you were probably family or close to somebody that was in that room living in Dadeville, Alabama.
All right, Lizzie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again here. Is there anything that you want to add about all of this before I let you go?
I just want to add that, I appreciate the national coverage of this. I appreciate eyes on our town. And, it's a small town and it hits extremely, extremely hard here. And I appreciate everything that everyone's done, reaching out to me, trying to get these facts out straight, and just praying for our town and our little hamlet here.
All right. Thank you again for taking the time here to join us.
Thank you so much.